episode of how I built my e-commerce career. If you have not heard of this web series, we are all about diving deeper into the e-commerce industry and really uncovering how people build their careers within e-commerce companies. My name is Dimity Edwards. I am the account manager at Hunt & Co, specializing in digital marketing and e-commerce. For those that don't know who Hunt & Co are, we are a boutique recruitment agency based in Brisbane, Australia. And this series is one of my favorite things that I've ever done because I think every day I really do get to spend a lot of time with amazing e-commerce businesses and in turn get to speak to a lot of amazing people. But one thing I've really found is that not everyone knows what an e-commerce manager does or an e-commerce specialist does, or how you actually get into the industry and land in these kind of really amazing roles. And so this series really is hopefully lifting the bonnet on what these roles all do and how you might be able to find yourself in a really amazing career just like these epic humans. Today's guest, I think things are going to get a little bit spicy. It is with the one and only Charlie. He is the e-commerce manager at Lovehoney. And yes, you should go Google that on your own terms, not on a work computer. But Charlie will dive deeper into what Lovehoney do and his role part of that company. However, he hasn't always worked at Lovehoney. He does have an amazing career history, and I'm really excited to hand it over to you, Charlie, and kind of dive deep into how you landed your role as the e-commerce manager at Lovehoney.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dimity. Hi, everyone. As Dimity said, I'm Charlie and I am the e-commerce manager at Lovehoney, which is a very, very fun company to be a part of. I guess my career started back when I was a teenager, although I shouldn't call it a career just at that point. I wasn't paid. However, I was lucky and fortunate enough to grow up in an e-commerce family. So when I was about 10 years old, my family started one of Australia's largest online wine retailers called Get Wines Direct. And from there, throughout my teenage years, I got to have a lot of exposure to, the start of Internet 2.0, where people were first building up the courage to use their credit cards online. And then, and it was really fun and exciting. It started from a little business where we had some boxes of wine in a bedroom. Apologies. And it basically grew to, us having two massive warehouses in Melbourne. And it was, like I said, it was very exciting. We got to hear the chimes of each order email coming through. I recall there was a sound that we put on that was like, "Show me the money" or something like that from Jerry Maguire. And it was really exciting. And this was a new thing, shopping online as opposed to, in a bricks and mortar store, particularly for alcohol. So that's sort of where it started for me. And then I did work for the business and I started in the warehouse in logistics. Got to understand all of that side from picking, packing to, the QAing of orders to then, the delivery. And then I transitioned into the more, the head office side of the business. Worked mostly in marketing, really sort of started my career in the CRM side of things. And that was Get Wines Direct, biggest thing back then. And then from there, I took a bit of a break from e-commerce and I pursued a career of acting. And so I did a few shows, musicals at QPAC, and I moved to Melbourne to pursue that.
I did not know this. This is why I love this series, because that is amazing. I thought I knew everything about you.
Oh yes, there's a fun eccentric side to me that maybe people don't get to see all the time. But so I pursued that for a little bit, and then I ended up finding myself coming back into e-commerce, where I worked for a company called Retail Express, who is now owned by Maripost, and they own sort of Nido, Retail Express, and a few other platforms. And from there, I sort of got my foot back in the door into e-commerce, and I was working with, hundreds of e-commerce businesses around Australia who integrated their e-commerce platforms into Retail Express, whether that be Shopify, and also, I'm having a brain fade, Magento, which I worked on for a number of years. From there, YouFoods approached me for a role becoming e-commerce specialist there. We get to do a number of really exciting things. And, as most people know, YouFoods have now been bought out by HelloFresh. And from there, I sort of departed and was approached. I think you and I started speaking and the role of Lovehoney came up. And at first, I'll be honest, I was a little bit tentative because it was sort of this was a particularly different industry. But I'm so happy that I took the opportunity, and I have no regrets. It's honestly been the best role I've ever had. So
I love
thanks,
that.
Dimity.
You're welcome. I'm glad that you found your feet, and it's definitely working with you guys has been one of the highlights of my career. A lot of fun memories have been created, that's for sure. But I guess getting a job at Lovehoney obviously is quite unique, and it does take a little bit of a thinking outside the box kind of mentality. What were your first thoughts of what the role was, and then what has it actually evolved into?
Yeah, definitely at first daunting. Not daunting, but obviously, as I said before, it's a particularly different industry to work in, and you're exposed to things that you wouldn't usually have exposure to all the time, particularly with sex toys, and obviously the lingerie and all those sorts of things. But what I found now is, now that I'm actually in the role, I'm so incredibly normalized to it that I look at a sex toy, or there might be I don't know if I can say this on here, but there might be a dildo or something, on someone's desk, just because we live, and surround ourselves with the product. Now it's like I look at it, and it's like anything else. It's like selling a shirt or anything. So that's definitely changed. What I have found really interesting though is the types of constraints that Lovehoney have, particularly around what we can and can't advertise on different platforms. So in that regard, we really have to think outside the box, and tackle what would be a normal way of advertising for some companies, and we have to do it completely different, or even have to sometimes change up, the way that we showcase our products to suit a particular platform.
Can we dive a little bit into that? Because I think that's actually really unique about why Lovehoney, and you've had such great success. So I think it's something quite unique. But yeah, could you dive a bit deeper into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably won't name any platforms, only because they are particular partners of ours, and we are working on trying to normalize and remove stigma around our industry, and also advertising our products. But for example, there are platforms where we can't even display a sex toy, for example. So we have to, as Lovehoney, which is mostly known as a sex toy company, we have to utilize our lingerie range and imagery to represent us. So it's things like that, and that's in order for us to actually just get ourselves on these particular platforms and gain the exposure to those audiences. So it's things like that. There's also on different advertising platforms as well. Again, we cannot display our toys, so we have to go down the lingerie angle, which is accepted. But fingers crossed over the next few years, and Lovehoney as a brand are pushing for this normalization. But hopefully we do get acceptance and can one day showcase our products in a safe way. Of course, I definitely understand that there's particular audiences, particularly the young audiences, who are not quite old enough, that shouldn't probably don't want to give exposure to that. So as long as we can come up with the safe way to normalize our products, then I think that'll be great.
What is your biggest marketing channel, or how do you get that big exposure knowing that you can't go down the same routes? Like, is it through your CRM system, through your loyalty programs? Is it through, I guess, influencers? What are you guys doing that's different?
Yeah, look, we have a fantastic PPC team. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's pay-per-click or cost per click. We've also got so Google Ads generates a lot of our traffic, and but in saying that, we're now facing a potential problem in that Google Safe Searches will be rolling out in August. What we've seen in the UK is that basically, if Google doesn't know what age you are, it will actually hide your paid ads through Google search. And that poses a big threat to our traffic. And so we're potentially going to see that roll out in Australia in August. However, there are talks that it'll only be to audiences where Google actually knows that they're under the age of 18, which is great for us actually, because that means we can ensure what I was talking about before, the safety of the younger audience, and ensure that our exposure is still generated to everyone else.
Yeah, I love that. Again, I think that you have one of the most fascinating roles in going in an e-commerce industry. But I guess on a day-to-day basis, for those that don't know what an e-commerce manager does or what your role entails, you're managing quite a few people, you're managing a large warehouse of products. I don't know how many products you guys actually have in store or like in your warehouse, but I know it's enormous. Could you maybe dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, to answer that last question, we've got about 4,700 plus items that, changes each week. So quite a few products, and we have huge warehouses in Eagle Farm here in Brisbane. But on a day-to-day basis, look, I'm in charge of ensuring that we're generating revenue at the end of the day. So that's what my KPIs are. They are to ensure that, we're hitting budget. So we have targets set every single day that, which we're trying to hit. And that's looking at promotions that we're running. That's looking at the campaigns that we're running on site. Also looking at optimization. So, looking at areas and weaknesses within our site that, do require work because, we might be seeing in our analytics that there's particular areas where, customers are dropping off from, or we're not quite getting the conversion from a particular area on site. So that's where we'll look at things, such as messaging changes, such as functionality changes on site to try and get that boost, the conversion, maybe revenue per session, the AOV, average order value for anyone who's not aware of that one. And so, yeah, we look at that. And then I also have a team, that consists of, CRM, so looking at our EDMs and our loyalty through, retention emails and automated emails. We've got SEO, so search engine optimization, looking at optimizing our website to ensure that we have the best possible rankings for different, search terms in Google. And then we've also got, the actual team that work on the website. They're briefing in the assets that, we've decided on. They're implementing that. They're implementing, the discounts and, quality assurance of all of those components to ensure that, there's no leakages. So yeah, there's a lot that, does go on. Another area is also marketplaces. So that's going to be a big, topic to discuss really, and particularly for new people that are looking to join the industry. That's where we're probably going to see a lot of growth. And so what I mean by marketplaces is your platforms like eBay, Amazon, potentially Catch, Kogan. All of these platforms are going to allow brands such as ourselves who are have difficulty getting exposure on certain platforms to essentially, if we can't be seen here, let's get ourselves seen where, the customer can. And that happens to be marketplaces for us. So we're investing a lot of time and effort right now in building out our sort of marketplace arsenal, ensuring that, yeah, we can get the exposure where possible.
I love that. And I'm so glad that we brought this kind of topic up because, yeah, it is such an interesting product and it isn't straight line. You can't just put an ad up and expect that kind of conversion to happen instantly. So I really do love that you guys are thinking innovatively around how you can really promote your product. For someone looking to get into being an e-commerce manager, what would you say would be a really cool career path that they might averagely take? Like, where would they start and what would that journey look like to become the e-commerce manager at Lovehoney? Like, how would someone get there?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of employers might put a lot of emphasis on particularly, getting a university degree. For me, I don't particularly agree, that that's a necessity. I think, if you do have the university background, fantastic. And then there's lots to gain from, getting a degree. However, I think that a lot of what we do, it comes back to the key word you said before, is about innovation. I don't think that a degree will basically provide you the tools of innovation as such. Yep. I think that comes from you as a person and, just looking at ideas, thinking outside the box. So there's a lot of information online. There's YouTube, there's different, online courses that you can do. I think there's a particular, good one, which is done by Google actually on Coursera, if I've said that right, where you can basically get the experience of like a day-to-day e-commerce job through their digital marketing and e-commerce certificate, build a site on Shopify, look at the EDM side of things, learn Google Ads, and that can be done in the span of 6 months, and that kind of experience could lead you to getting a job. And there's so many jobs available now, I think, particularly in this industry, and it's only going to expand really as more businesses turn to selling online. I think there's a huge potential for anyone, degree or no degree, to really enter this space.
I love that. And I did not know there was a Google course out there. Naively, is that even a word? Anyways, we're going to go with it. I love that. Is there any other resources or resources, courses, things that people should be reading that you could maybe pass on?
Yeah, there's a ton of Instagram accounts. I was going to say sites. A ton of Instagram accounts. Pinterest is a great one as well. There's a lot of information that you can find on Pinterest just through like infographics and things like that. So do a Google of whatever particular area it is that you want to look at. Maybe it's like CRM tips and tricks, might be e-commerce tips and tricks. Generalize the search like that, and I'm sure you'll find lots of information, lots of blog places. But what we could also do is maybe I can get you a list of a few of the sources that I use, and we can link them as part of this.
Would love to link them in their YouTube, and I'll pop it in the post for anyone that does watch. That'd be awesome. For you, is there been a critical part in your career where you've looked back on and you're like, that was like my turning point. That's when I knew that this is why I love this industry and love this kind of role?
There was a career change for me in terms of mindset, and this happened with my manager Sean Lofts at the time. Hi Sean, if you're watching, at Retail Express, and he's the customer experience director there, and I think he's gone on to even bigger and better things through the Mara Post purchase or buyout. But essentially, I used to complain a lot, whether it be in the role, there's too much work or, but basically what I did is I always brought the issue to him. And one day he turned me around, he said, bring me the solution, and it was just life-changing. I think that particular moment for me, and it really changed the way that I approached everything. And I was like, stop complaining. I actually think, okay, look, if there is a particular problem, let's problem solve it. Let's come up with a solution. And from then on, everything just started working for me. And even, even my own maturity within the industry and around my peers and my colleagues, I started to build my own natural leadership skills from that. And from there, I've basically gone from sort of plateau within the industry to, sort of really taking off there.
Yeah, that's incredible. And mindset is such a big key. I know even for me, like jumping into a recruitment, I come from a digital marketing background. Going into recruitment is such a different career path, right? Like a 360. And I had to make a conscious decision to turn the light on inside of me and go, I'm going to give this all I've got and watch me fly. And I've loved seeing you really turn your light on inside of you and seeing what you've been able to create in the last almost 12 months. And I would say that it comes down to a mindset shift.
Totally. And I think another big thing is there's a lot of, I found it particularly hard with my age, and I found myself in more senior roles, probably younger in my career than maybe others. Like, for example, I'm 29 currently. And I found that I was very much scared to share an opinion or voice concerns of a problem that others might not, because of my age. I think that's another thing that, I think people should be aware of, is just to not let that sort of break you down or, stop you from, pursuing your dreams within this industry. Or even just, having a voice. A lot of my team are very young, but I ensure that they have a voice because I think they're brilliant. And, some of the young minds that come through really give you a new perspective on everything. If I can give any words of encouragement, it's just don't let age sort of, stop you from pursuing Yeah, your dreams.
Your dreams. I love that. And I guess putting your employee hat on and saying, all right, if someone happened to be in a job and they're like, I know I want to go X, or I keep seeing these kind of amazing people do amazing things in their roles, but I don't know how they're doing that. Is there any advice you would give to them to go, these would be the next steps that I would take if I was in your position so you can scale your career?
Yeah, totally. I think I received some really good advice a couple of years ago. And that was basically to be the role that you want to be and don't wait for it to, to come, essentially. And the meaning of that is if you want to be a manager, or if you want to be a leader, or if there's a particular role that you want to specialize in, don't wait for the opportunity to come up. Start being that role now. Particularly on the leadership front, it's really important that you don't just wait until a management position comes up.
I'm now a manager.
yeah, and now I've got the skills of a leader, out of nowhere. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's something that you should be implementing immediately, and that's really helped me. And I would say that at YouFoods particularly, I really tried to, be the manager, even though I wasn't at the time. Without infringing upon my actual manager. That's not what it's about, but it's about ensuring that the team below me have the leadership there, to help inspire. And that's absolutely set me up for success, in my current role, I believe. So yeah, be the role that you want to be. Don't wait, for it to happen.
I love that. I guess kind of shifting gears a little bit, but let's kind of look at what the rest or the wider e-commerce industry is doing. Is there any businesses out there that you're looking for inspiration? It doesn't have to be within the e-commerce industry, but is there any companies that you're like, you're absolutely crushing it in this vertical, or things that I guess you're seeing, or trends that you're seeing that you're kind of taking what you want and leaving the rest?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few. From a top level though, whenever we're looking at ideas or, looking for inspiration, we're never particularly just looking at our own industry. Yeah. And I'd give that advice to anyone working in e-commerce, and not just in my particular industry, but even your own, even if it's clothing, fashion, homeware, whatever it might be. We're always looking at what the industry leaders are doing, within e-commerce, the e-commerce industry, not our own particular vertical. Yeah. Because, and particularly we're looking at the larger companies too, the ones that have the resource to do the A/B split testing, that have the resource there to look at the analytics and optimize their work. And sometimes, you can take ideas from others, there's this whole concept of stealing. I mean, Apple wouldn't exist if Steve Jobs didn't steal a thing or two from, Microsoft. So we're always looking to take from, or not take, sorry, but we're always looking to, look at and gain inspiration from, other leaders within the industry, and see how we can, shape that for our own particular experience on site. So yeah, Culture Kings recently, or maybe not even recently, I can't remember when they did this, but just for example's sake, they implemented on their mobile device a sort of Instagram story carousel of different, I think, offers and brands. And I found that particularly cool because they were essentially building their site to mimic a platform such as Instagram that everyone uses on a daily basis. So people understand that experience on Instagram. So they try to implement that onto their own website. And I found that particularly genius, particularly speaks to their audience, which I assume, are millennials, and the younger generations. So it's things like that, for example's sake, that, are really cool to find as little, treasure items on different sites.
I think that's fascinating, especially because probably if you were to go onto the Culture Kings, using that as the example, if you were to go on their website on your mobile, you probably would instantly tap those stories because it is out of habit you spending so much time on Instagram. It'll be interesting to see how TikTok has a big influence on e-commerce sites moving forward. Do you guys draw any inspiration from any other platforms like TikTok, for example?
Yeah, I think, TikTok's great. It's something that we are about to invest more time into, particularly around TikTok. I think the algorithm allows, brands, people, to produce sort of lower quality, content, but it speaks to, a really wide audience, and they're able to really get that in front of the right audiences. So TikTok's great. Particularly, I'm excited for the metaverse when that does come. That's probably still a good, I'm going to guess here, 5 to 10 years.
Are you going to have a Lovehoney playroom or something like that you're creating?
I don't know what I can say just yet.
Okay. Watch this space, guys.
I'll have to check in with Natasha Neal, our marketing manager here, to see if we can expose anything on that front. But I think it's going to provide some really cool innovation and opportunities for brands to essentially have photorealistic 3D models of products within your own living room. You can bring an entire store to your home, shop from your home. You look at the Unreal Engine 5, which is sort of a games development platform, but the graphics that is being produced on that is almost, can mimic real life. And I think that's so exciting, the fact that, in the future, you won't particularly have to go to a bricks and mortar store, but, businesses such as ours can actually showcase an entire range of product for you to choose, at your own home, which is really exciting for us, especially for a company that is so much about being discreet. There's nothing more discreet than shopping from your home, right? And that's what majority of our customers do. They're not shopping at work with, the Lovehoney.
I hope not.
So yeah, it's particularly exciting, but that'll still be a while away. There's still a lot of technology that needs to be developed to get that to a mass consumer level, but eventually that will come. And I think, businesses should definitely start preparing for that now.
I love that. Well, I'm curious and excited in so many ways. On that front, what is a futuristic and building a career? I always want to be on the edge of innovation and helping people make sure that their next career move is one that is going to last the next kind of turning point in our industry. Is there a job or a couple of roles that you're future forecasting that is going to be available that it doesn't exist at the moment?
I have some roles that are more in scarcity, I guess. They do exist, but not to the level that I would expect. And I expect that they would grow. And I think a big one would be around consumer psychology. I think that everything in the e-commerce business, particularly around marketing, but also on-site, user experience, it's all about psychology at the end of the day. And I don't think that there's enough foresight or insight even, from particular, consumer psychologists to, basically provide ideas and a hypothesis on different types of, new experiences that consumers might enjoy. So I think that particular role will hopefully, there will be more of that. I'm hoping, and I think that will do wonders for our industry. But I think we'll also see a lot of hybrid roles too. So particularly, businesses or startups that don't have the money or investment to have full-timers in one particular area. I think we're going to see a lot of hybriding of roles, whether that be you're doing CRM and a bit of, maybe on-site product management, or a bit of SEO and a bit of this. I think we'll see a lot more of that come about, which I think will be really good because it'll get a lot of young people or junior people within the industry, to gain more exposure to more roles. And I think that's really important, especially if it's your dream to become a manager of a particular business in e-commerce, and to lead that. And having more exposure, and this is what I really try and develop with my team, is providing them exposure to as many different, verticals of e-commerce, because it's a huge spider web. E-commerce is in the center, and e-commerce, the team itself talks to every single department: customer care, logistics, product development, and there's so much more. But getting yourself into a role that, and I've gone off track here, but basically get yourself into a role that, does allow you to gain exposure to as many verticals as possible.
Yeah, I love it. I kind of use it as a e-commerce, like a T-shaped e-commerce specialist. So you got the SEO, you've got the Google Analytics, you know how to do web and development. But at the core, essentially, is you have great communication skills and you know what that customer-centric mindset is that real nice T-shaped e-commerce specialist, essentially.
Yeah, totally. And one more thing will be around marketplaces. So that's, I think if you're looking to enter the industry, look for a junior sort of marketplace role and become sort of, an expert in either Amazon, eBay. That's where we're going to see most of our e-commerce growth over the next 5 years. And I suspect that there'll be a lot of new roles coming out of that, and really, well-paying roles in the marketplace industry too. And, marketplaces really give consumers some of the best experience possible. You get to compare prices. You get so much choice and variety from a number of different vendors. So look at roles for the marketplace industry.
Charlie, I could talk to you all day. I just love what comes out of your brain. You're obviously so deep into the e-commerce industry and very aware of what's happening, not just in your vertical, but across the whole landscape. And obviously, I would love anyone who is interested to reach out to Charlie if you're open to it, because I'm sure he would love to mentor anyone that would love a role within the industry. And I'm sure he'll be able to give you a few tips and tricks. But I guess, is there anything else that you would love to share today that has been on your heart, your mind, or you're just like, I would want someone to know this?
I know. But I would give a little e-commerce advice to anyone who currently works in e-commerce is don't always look for optimizations for just conversion. Look at the whole picture. So always look to optimize towards your revenue per session where possible, and get as much revenue out of each customer as you can. Looking at initiatives around your average order value as well, not just conversion.
I love that. Well, again, Charlie, thank you so much for being on today. I could go for hours, so maybe we'll have to have a volume 2 of our chat today, but I thank you again for coming on. And guys, I'll add his LinkedIn. You'll be able to find him, but if not, go explore Lovehoney's website on your own, not on your work computer. And thanks again, and we'll see you on another episode.
See you later.